The Royal Rumble is 32 days away. It's probably one of the biggest shows of the year. Excuse me for that 1 second. And we have a lot of things to go over, especially since we have the both Royal Rumble matches and a main event. That probably will be the main event. I'm not sure just because of a certain somebody. We'll get to that later on. But why am I saying two Royal Rumble matches? Because first, we'll just go off of this first off. The Stephanie McMahon announced a historic, first ever Women's Royal Rumble match. Now, to make sure that this is going to happen, I'm believing it's going to be 30 women, much like the male Royal Rumble. But I don't know that for sure. It could be 15, it could be 20. We don't know that for sure. But if you look at the women's roster right now, if you include Maurice, Maria, and both Bellas, that would come out to 24 women on the main roster. I believe. About 24, 23, 24, something like that. But of course, Maurice couldn't compete in it, neither could Maria, because of their pregnancies, and Brie being a new mom, and Nikki because, well, we haven't seen Nikki since WrestleMania when she was getting proposed to, and that is something there, but it's interesting because I could basically go off and say the entire roster is going to be in this, but there's been some Hall of Famers that have looked at the opportunity, like Trish Stratus, like Lita, like Beth Phoenix, and even some former divas like Michelle McCool have considered being in this Rumble. Obviously, the winner of this Rumble would face either the women's champion on SmackDown or on Raw. Much like the brand splits of old, the winner would have their choice of champion they would face at WrestleMania. That is, if that's what they're going to do. But I can only go after, because there are some women on here that haven't technically announced themselves on here, but I'm assuming the entire roster is going to be in the Rumble. But we'll just go after the ones that we know so far, because it's hard to predict the Rumble regardless of who's in it. But we can look at the current field, and probably towards the end, when we have the somewhat full field, because there's always going to be a few surprises in a Rumble match. We'll go off of that later on in the new year. So first off, we have, I believe, Naomi was the first one to announce herself in the Rumble. Naomi, it makes sense for Naomi to be the first one to announce herself in the Rumble because she couldn't have been in the Money in the Bank match because she was the SmackDown Women's Champion at the time, and the SmackDown Women's roster at the time was basically 6, 7 women if you count Maria, Nikki, Bella, or Maurice. I think Maurice was still on. Was she still on SmackDown at the time? It's possible, Oh well. But still, it's like maybe 6 or 7 women on the roster. So obviously, they couldn't put her in there. So it makes sense to her to be the first one to enter. She has a good chance. She could be the Kofi Kingston of the Rumble. What I mean by that is, how Kofi has done a lot of crazy near elimination spots that have surprised us all. Naomi has the ability to do that. And excuse me if my voice sounds a little different. I'm kind of under the weather a little bit. Should have said that at the beginning, but oh well. But Naomi at her hand, again, she is probably one of the top names to win this Rumble at the moment because, again, not everyone has been confirmed, but we have that going on, and Naomi could be a frontrunner to win the Rumble. Speaking of frontrunners, Asuka is in the Rumble, and again, Asuka is probably going to win the Rumble. However, there's been rumors of Ronda Rousey entering the Rumble and potentially winning it to face a champion at WrestleMania, particularly Charlotte, because that's been a rumor of a match for several years now. but we don't know that for sure since she's filming a current movie. I don't remember the name of the movie exactly, but I know she's filming for something. I don't remember what. I apologize for that, but again, Asuka has been dominant. And if you're going to show her dominance, what better way than a Royal Rumble match? And if she's not going to win, I will be heavily surprised at who will win. Because Asuka, again, is possibly the best chance of any woman to win. The next one, Ruby Riott, the former Heidi Lovelace. Basically any indie promotion across the country. And you have that going on, and with Ruby winning, would be interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but that also brings up her Riot Squad members, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan, formerly known as Crazy Mary Dobson. They could also be in the Rumble, but I don't know that for sure. I do not know that for sure. And plus, for some reason, Riot is spelled with 2 T's. I guess they just couldn't trademark the word Riot, so they just put 2 T's on it. I don't know why. It's just there. And the Riot Squad is also spelled with 2 T's. I don't know why. But again, I don't think she'll win the Rumble, but she could surprise people in this one. Next up is Natalya, the former SmackDown Women's Champion and a veteran in this business. You know, a win like this would cement her legacy as a Hall of Fame career. Do I believe that will happen? No. Do I want it to happen? Maybe. And of course, you have people like Paige and Absolution. They haven't really announced themselves yet in the Rumble, but that's also a possibility. But again, the Rumble is not fully complete, as we'll see that with the next Rumble, the traditional Royal Rumble match, I guess we could call it, as we have only a couple names on there. First off, we have Elias entering himself first in the Royal Rumble. A guy that could do anything. And, there's only like 3 or 4 people in the Rumble right now. So Elias has a good chance of winning. Will he win? Probably not. Will he have a good showing? Of course he will. Next up, we have Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, who both announced themselves in the Rumble last night. Nakamura, again, this would be a landmark win for him. I don't know if they would do it, though. I really don't know. I'm going to say yes, but I don't know for sure. And Randy Orton's a given. Randy Orton has won Rumbles in the past. It's possible for this to happen. I don't know for sure. We'll see what happens from there, and, it's interesting. And with that, we'll just take a little break, and we'll just see what happens from now.